Hello and welcome to this instalment of Talkin Trim. I'm Jonathon Skinner and today we're looking at the front seat covers and the related hardware items for the Jaguar MK2. Also applicable to the 240 and 340 as they were effectively slight variants of the MK2 with only really the material changing. This video is going to go over obviously the seat covers, but then also any related hardware items, so the inner parts of the seats, effectively like the seat foam paddings for both the cushion base and the backrest squab. Then we've got the backrest squab diaphragm element of things, the back panel, and I'll talk about the clips, tacking strips and waddings and give you an example at the back there of a trimmed up unit there. But yeah, just wanted to sort of include all items that you may be wishing to consider if you're looking to refurb your front seats for your Jaguar MK2. Now it's worth noting at this stage that the seat covers themselves are included as standard in our trim kit, but the seat foams and all the other hardware items are sold as optional extras, so bear that in mind. What we do for a lot of our Jaguar interiors, we offer a complete trim kit package, which is essentially everything or the majority of what you need to completely restore the interior of your car. But then we have optional extras, which are items that you may or may not require depending on the condition of your current unit. So I thought I'd mention that. But effectively, this video is going to showcase the seat covers. The seat covers in this one are everything in the sort of biscuit material, and then the seat foams are these elements here. Then we've got the backrest panel there. Then we've got some examples of trimmed units at the back there. So we do sell all of these items here as car sets, so in pairs, for example. So the seat covers are sold as a pair, i.e. enough sewn covers and loose materials to retrim one set of front seats, i.e. a pair, a car set's worth of front seats. And same again for the seat foam padding. So we sell the base foams as a pair, i.e. two, the backrest squabs foams as a pair, and so on. So we tend to sell the majority of our items as car set items as opposed to individually. We make it very obvious when items are sold individually. So let's get started. Let me just zoom in. So it's worth noting with the Jaguar MK2 that they had a couple of different variants of seats which changed the seat cover design. The main obvious difference was 7 pleats versus 8 pleats. And of course, when I'm referring to pleats, I'm talking about the flute pleated panel section there. So the majority of them had 8 pleats as per this example here. That is by far and away the most commonly seen version. But the very early cars had 7 pleats, which is literally taking one of those pleats away effectively. We can offer both variants, so bear that in mind. The 240 and 340 models effectively followed the same design as the MK2, but the materials changed. So whereas the MK2's left as standard with what we refer to as leather face seats, which is basically the main part of the seat is leather, but then the backs and the surrounds are vinyl and moquette. The 240 and 340 models removed leather from the majority of those production line cars, and they just replaced it with vinyl Ambla. So where leather appears on this one, you would just think vinyl Ambla if you had a 240 or a 340. But we can cater for all the different variants of it. This specific kit has been done to factory spec, so it is what we refer to as leather faced. It's worth noting on that a lot of other companies and in fact books out there refer to the seats as leather. That should not be confused with our full leather option. Our full leather option is an upgrade option that I don't think anyone else really offers in the industry, which is where we replace the vinyl with leather. So absolutely everything is leather. The retainers, even the back panel section there, everything is leather. So that is an upgrade option that I don't think many other companies offer. We refer to the factory spec version as leather face, which is what a lot of other people refer to as leather. So don't confuse their leather with our full leather option, which is an upgrade package. So do bear that in mind. So what we've got here is a set of seats. We're doing a full trim kit for a gentleman over in France. And they've been done in biscuit light tan, which is an original colour for the Jaguar MK2. And the leather that's been used on this is our smooth finish leather. For most of our leathers, we can offer smooth or grained. See our website for more details. And like I said, it's been done to leather face specifications, which basically means the majority of the seat that touches your body when you actually sit in it is leather. But things such as the retainers there, the back of the backrest there, they have vinyl elements to them. They also had a load of moquette parts to them for the retainer there, for the surround on the inside gearbox section there. That was Moquette. And Moquette was a commonly used material by Jaguar during this era for sort of backs and sides of seats, and also the sort of wheel arches on some of the E-types and things like that. And effectively, it's a very high quality wool-based material, so it's akin to carpet, but it's a very, very short pile, and it has no backing to it. So it's very flexible and pliable. So we supply that as standard, as per original factory spec. Now let's just have a quick look here. So obviously we're talking about the front seats here in the car. And like I say, you had the variance between the early 7-pleat design, which was quite rare, and then the later 8-pleat design there. So let's go over the actual seats themselves. So you get a pair of cushion covers, the bit your bum goes on. Genuine tuck and roll pleats. Let's see the underside one here. So as you can see, genuine tuck and roll pleats into a 17mm foam. So what I mean by genuine tuck and roll pleats is we literally pre-slip the foam using a CNC machine down to a certain depth, and so the lever, when it gets sewn, goes in and out of the actual foam itself to actually create a genuine pleat, whereas a lot of other companies out there, they simply fold the lever over and sew down, which creates a fake pleat. So bear that in mind. So as a genuine tuck and roll pleats, they're obviously all then sewn, piped. Certain bits have foam padding on them to add bolster to them. The underside here also gets this retainer element with a thicker piping going through it. You can see the thickness difference in the pipings there. Again, it's all these little details that we go to that a lot of people don't go to on it, and that's used during the trimming process to actually retain it to the actual seat frame itself. Worth noting again on the piping as well, we use Leathercloth for our piping, not vinyl. Caveat to that, Leathercloth where our colours allow, which is about 80 to 90% of our colours, the majority of our colours basically, we can supply Leathercloth piping. Now Leathercloth, also known as Vinide or Rexin, was the original material used by a lot of manufacturers during this era of production in the sort of 60s and 70s. And it's very robust material, much more so than vinyl, especially when it goes round a very sharp sort of tight angle like piping. And it means that basically if you scratch it, you're not gripping and you're not scuffing it. Whereas if you did that with vinyl, one, because it's a thicker material, it wraps around and creates a bigger piece of piping, so it looks a bit more bulbous. But two, it's a very grippy surface, vinyl, when it's done over such a small sort of turnaround. And so therefore it's very easy to scuff vinyl piping. So we traditionally use Leathercloth for for piping our seats and also edging our carpets. It's the same sort of principle, whereas a lot of other companies out there, they don't do that. They use vinyl because they don't want to have to stock an extra material in Leathercloth, or maybe they're blissfully unaware of the pros and cons of using the two different materials for two different purposes. So not going to go too much into that, but it's worth noting that we acknowledge it and use it where possible. Definitely check out our blog and handbook post, and also YouTube video that I'm going to go details in on that, because again, it's these sort of details that really set us apart from the competition when it comes to the manufacturer of these kits. So we do use Leathercloth for Mark II's. The piping was always the same colour as the main trim, so this is biscuit with biscuit, obviously. So yeah, sewn, piped. You get the top stitching detail going on it. So on the cushion bases, there's effectively no vinyl pieces on there. They're always level with Moquette. So obviously all of the top pleated panel, the horseshoe section, the side bits there, and then on the inside edge, so the gearbox side, you get this piece of Moquette sewn in and top stitch, which that butts up against the gearbox carpet, hence the use of Moquette, because it then ties in with the carpet colour there. And then you also had a Moquette retainer on the bottom there. So you get a pair of cushion covers. They are paired, i.e. one's left hand, one's right hand, dictated by obviously where the Moquette goes there. But as with all of our seats, we have triangles in certain areas of the seats, which indicate that it is a right hand as you're sat facing forward in the car. So bear that in mind, but they'll also be labelled up normally as well on the back of them, RH or LH. So bear that in mind. You also then get a pair of Backrest squab covers. So same principle again, genuine tuck and roll pleats. All the elements on there are leather apart from the retainer there, which is vinyl. On the underside, you get this black scrim calico sewn in, which is used during the trimming process to pull through the foams, through the holes on the diaphragm there, and trimmed to the back of the backrest there. Obviously, same principle again, it's piped and stitched and whatnot all together, so you don't need to do any sewing at your end. So you get a pair of backrest covers there as well. You then get pre-sewn and loose materials for various elements of it. So let's start with the sort of surrounds and the mechanism elements of things. So you get all of these Moquette pieces, some of which are just cut to size and slightly oversized. Other bits have some sewing on them. Now, we oversupply with these. There are a couple of different, at least 2 different versions of seat frames for the Jaguar MK2, and it's quite hard to distinguish between them. So we supply enough to redo both versions, basically. So you'll always end up with extra pieces of Moquette that you will not need to use. But basically the sort of mechanism parts are these parts here, which are effectively, obviously, these bits round here. And then you get 2 small rectangles here, which are effectively the kick panel there, which I'll show you in more depth shortly. That's effectively the part that goes underneath there. Can't really see it any better. Yeah, it goes kind of underneath there, effectively. If you're sat in the back, it's where you would kick up to. There's a metal panel in there that gets trimmed. Then you also get material to recover the back of the backrest. So we are talking literally there, we've got a trimmed up version there, so the back here. So they are bits of Moquette piped, then bits of vinyl and joined together. They're obviously big and long. I've just folded them over due to lack of space on the CNC table for all of it to go together, but you get those all ready to go. And they are, as you can see, these sections here. So this back panel here, and then the lower part there, which then follows on into all of these bits here. And then additionally, you get materials for the picnic tables, which are these sections up here. Now, not all the Mark IIs and 240, 340 models had picnic tables, but again, we oversupply. We supply them regardless. And what you get here is you get 2 pieces of vinyl and 2 pieces of leather, the same shape, which effectively are the bits that get trimmed to that sort of face bit there, and then the underside bit there as well. And then you also get 2 bits of leather there, which go round this sort of tray lip here. So that's those sections there. Now, it's worth noting as well, when it comes to these parts here with the leather, we skive the leather down. Skiving is the process of thinning leather, and we are, I believe, the only company, restoration company in the industry that have our own in-house leather skiving machine. So as standard for any parts that we deem suitable for skiving, we do that automatically, which a lot of other companies will not be able to offer, let alone want to offer, because again, they don't necessarily understand the benefits of these things. But we invested in that several years ago, and like I say, it pays dividend with these sorts of kits, especially with this lipped piece here, because it really thins the leather down, which makes it a lot easier and more pliable to trim round the edge of the lip of the picnic table. So you get those pieces there. So that's effectively the front seat covers. Like I say, all of those pieces are now sold as a car set, i.e. enough to do a set of seats, a car set of seats, so 2 seats. In addition to that, you're obviously going to want to consider the hardware side of things. So hardware wise, again, we sell them in pairs, i.e. enough to do 2 seats. You have cushion base foams, the bit your bum goes on. They're molded latex, sold in pairs. They have obviously the groove section there where it sits down in the pleated panel, so it gives you that definition that you want there. So you want a pair of those potentially. That's the only element at the moment that you need for the cushion bases in terms of hardware. Now, underneath the foam, they had springs. If I can just lean the seat forward slightly, we should be able to see the underside there. there. So you had springs there with Hessian, etc. We are in the process of getting aftermarket versions of springs made, so watch this space for that. We haven't got them currently, but I hope to get that sorted in the coming weeks. So watch this space for that element of things. And then you had a Hessian material that basically went between the spring and the actual cover itself. We can also supply that as well, so bear that in mind. So they're the base elements of things that are on display here that we can offer, but we can offer the Hessian sack material or scrim. We tend to update it just to that scrim material there, which is just as suitable. But springs should be available very shortly. After that, we're moving on to the Backrest squab side of things. So there's a few elements of the Backrest squab. Let's start with the foam padding kit. So again, we sell them in car sets, i.e. enough to do 2 seats, and they're comprising of a few different bits. This is the under part. So this is the first part that directly goes onto the framework. Originally, it was a combination of foam and Hessian rubberized, foam and rubberized fiber horsehair. We replace it with different thickness of foam. We pre-cut that, which is where the scrim goes through. So that goes onto the framework there, and the scrim gets pulled through, and then this sits on top of it like this, like that. Okay, so the Backrest foams, you effectively get 1, 2, 3 times 2, so 6 pieces in a set effectively. So that's the Backrest squab foam padding kit. In addition, you're going to want the squab diaphragms. They are effectively the, I guess for lack of a better description, the spring that sit behind. So if you took this panel off here, you would find that the rubber diaphragm is underneath there, and that acts as kind of the backrest spring as you push back on it there. Again, they are sold in pairs. We've only got one in the video just to save on space on the table here, but you want those as well, which come with the hooks pre-inserted on them, and then they have these holes on them as well, which is again what you use to get the scrim through, which you cut up into little slices during the trimming process to get those pulled through. So we sell those as a pair as well. And then finally, in terms of the pre-made hardware that's on display in this video, you have the Backrest panel here, which is nice and easy to explain because I have a Blue Peter version here. Here's one I made earlier. So there we go. And that gets trimmed in those materials there. So it's the Moquette and the foam, trimmed all the way around, normally foamed as well. Fixings, you can normally reuse your old ones. Brackets, definitely reuse your old ones there. And that's, again, sold in a pair, pre-cut, hardboard, have all of the sort of pilot holes for even the brackets on them there. Then that's a little hole there. This is where the picnic table is going to end up going on this particular set of seats. And then the fixing holes around the outside edge there. Just to show you, that's there. You can see that's where the picnic element of things. We're waiting on this customer to send us his picnic table side of things so we can finish off the seat. But in the meantime, I'm using it as a nice example. So yeah, they're the Backrest board panels there. Only other thing, again, we don't have in this particular video that you might want to consider is the tacking strips. Around the sort of underside element of these parts here, you have the tacking strips that go around the Backrest frame. We can also supply those as well. Now it's worth noting at this point, probably should have mentioned it earlier, I've done another video showing a part trimmed up seat. It's the other version of this one actually, other side of this one. So it's worth checking that out because I do go into quite a bit of detail on the hardware and how it all goes together. So do check that out. There will be a link at the end of this video to show you that. But there are also several other videos on my YouTube channel, so do be sure to check those out. Only other thing to really mention is other elements of hardware that's fairly generic to seat trimming that you may or may not require, depending on one, your capabilities, your tooling, etc. at your end, but also what you've got there in terms of fixings and whatnot. So if you're taking to a professional upholsterer, I would suggest you probably don't need these from us because they should have them in abundance at their end, but it's worth checking with them. And if you do need them, then let us know. So first thing is upholstery wadding. So it's this fantastic material. Actually, we sell it in 8-meter lengths, and it's really good for trimming up seats. So basically, it's a really good way of bridging the gap between foam and cover in certain areas where you might get a bit of bagginess, and it really helps with the definition of the seats. Now, it's quite useful anyway. Depends on the seat that you're doing, but certainly on a Mark II, I'd say it is a useful one to have. But generally speaking, professional trimmers, they use steamers and heat guns, which really do help with creating the definition on the seats, as per this one here, which is what we have on site here. So we don't tend to use this very often, little bits here and there, but generally heat and steam guns work for that process there. But if you're planning on trimming the seats yourself and you don't have a steamer or a heat gun, or you're not confident using them, which especially should apply to heat guns, as they are quite tricky, shall we say, and it's a bit of a dangerous game. You can really mess up a set of seats if you go wrong with a heat gun. So if you don't want to go down that route, or haven't got the tooling to do so, then this is great stuff, because it really does bridge the gap between the covers and the foams. And so any areas where you might have sort of air gaps and you want to fill it out and add a bit of definition, it's really good for that purpose of things, because you can sort of pull it away and stretch it and split it up and make it fatter in certain areas. So it's fantastic stuff there. So we do recommend that. Then after that, you got fixings. Two different main sorts of fixings. These very commonly seen ones of the era there, and then the tubular ones, which you definitely do use on these, because you've got tubular frames on the underside there. So we sell those as well. They're sold individually, so do let us know how many you need, if you need them there. And then finally, we've just got some examples here of trimmed up pieces. So this is that kickboard. So that's what that small rectangle there trims there, which goes right on the underside there. And then these are some of the mechanisms that goes around here. These are obviously off the other seat there, but they're on the side bits there, which are one of those options there. Like I say, these are the parts we oversupply for, because they had different versions over the course of the manufacture from the factory production line. So we oversupply, i.e. you will end up with spare bits of Moquette after everything is said and done. So bear that in mind. But yeah, I think I covered my bases there. So just a bit of a quick recap. Seat covers, everything in the sort of biscuit trim there. So you have a pair of cushions, pair of backrests, and you have the picnic table materials there. You have the backrest squab materials there. Then you have a whole load of moquettes, pre-cut, some sewn, for the kick panel on the back, but also the side mechanism elements of things. They are sold as a set, which is enough to do one car. They are included as standard in our trim kit. In addition to that, you'll want to consider the seat hardware, which again are sold in pairs, so enough to do 2 seats. You've got base foams, backrest foams, backrest diaphragms, backrest panels. And then you've got to consider springs, which we're in the process of getting manufactured, and tacking strips, which are available but not in this video. Then in addition to that, you may or may not require waddings, and of course the actual clips themselves. So yeah, I think that's done a decent overview of it all. Obviously bear in mind 7 pleats versus 8 pleats, then after that it's materials and colours, but yeah, we can supply all of them and do every week and have done for decades. So do be sure to check out our website, and lots of photos showing lovely trimmed up Mark II seats, not just by ourselves but by hundreds of customers all over the world, because that's what we mainly do, is manufacture and supply and ship it all over the world. We can of course offer a trimming service for those that want the job done exactly to the John Skinner quality levels, but other than that, we're more than happy to obviously help and advise either yourself as an individual wanting to be a bit hands-on with the project, or even a professional trimmer if they're not sure on the best ways of going around certain things, then we're more than happy to help with that side of things. So do let us know. Either way, thanks for tuning in. Please remember to like, subscribe and share with other classic car enthusiasts out there. And of course, do check out the other videos, not just at the end of this video, but also on our YouTube channel. Thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.